today? Any kind of question is okay. I don't know much about Jack Kerouac, but
What does uh, what
yes,
does Thousand Eyes, Thousand Hands Sutra mean?
yeah.
Why do we chant it?
Uh, so Buddhism has borrowed many practicing techniques from um, other religions, and and then Zen borrows some of those practices from Buddhism, or they might borrow them from Taoism or Hinduism or someplace. So, as Ali mentioned, we do many different styles of practicing. She mentioned bowing, sitting, chanting, right? We do work practice. We even do eating practice because we have a formalized eating uh, practice. And so all of these, most of them are borrowed. We create some ourselves. So this 10,000 Hands and Eyes Sutra is a traditional Chinese chant that's been kind of, or at least transliterated into Korean, and we use that as a practice. So it isn't about the meaning of the sutra; it's about just doing the sutra. In fact, in my opinion, it's better if you don't know the meaning. So you're just doing this as a practice, just like bowing, just like sitting. Don't attach to it. Let go of your mind just now, just now, just now. So all of our practice techniques are to bring you back into just this moment. So chanting this chant, it's one of my favorite chants, is a style of practice to give you this just now mind. So Buddha looked at the evening star and found his just now mind. We call it his Buddha nature. So even going out at night and looking at the stars, kind of like Gurdjieff used to do back in the old days, is also a style of practice. So there's many of them. The thing is, from a Zen point of view, the thing is to do it without attaching to it. So the style isn't particularly important, but what's important is realizing this just now mind, which isn't attached to anything actually. So the sixth patriarch woke up from just hearing one line from the Diamond Sutra. Buddha sat for 6 years. So are those two the same or different? So that's the problem. We'll get attached to something, right? Like, so that's your like and dislike mind. So maybe in the old days, Ali didn't like bowing, and then she liked bowing, and I don't know how she feels now. But the important thing is whether you like it or you don't like it, to do it, because that's the thing that brings the result. So when Buddha sat for 6 years, he didn't know what the result was going to be. He just did it. And then we say it had a result, but of course that result is not anything. It's just returning to something that he already had. So you're not practicing to get anything. The intention of the practice is to return to what you already have and then use that to help the world. So Zen Master Sung San, we say, got enlightenment after he did the Great Dharani. That's another chant of ours. Did the Great Dharani for 100 days straight, 18 hours a day. And the sixth patriarch got enlightenment after just hearing one line from that Diamond Sutra. So which one do you like? Any other questions?
Dae Kwang Sanem?
Yes.
So I think I understand, we have these different forms of practice, and
Right.
I kind of see them as, these different expedient means for different
Right.
people. But if a person is drawn to a specific type of practice, like
Mm-hmm.
say chanting practice,
Right.
and even like Zen Master Sung San, like you said, 100 days, he just did the Great Dharani.
Right.
What is the value in a given person doing different types of practice, as opposed to just like sitting all the time or just chanting all the time.
Right. So usually they're doing one thing because they like it and maybe they're attached to it, right? But that's not the behind idea is to let go of your attachment mind. So that's what it's pointing towards. So some people will, like even Ali was doing this. I've done it too with particular forms of practice. I don't like this, blah, 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 and I want to do this, blah, 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 blah. Of course, that's the mind that you're trying to let go of, right? So you can return to your original mind. So, like you said, they're called expedient means, and that means they're to be just done, not attached to. And what they're doing is something. They're pointing towards this just now mind. So what's behind all of these practices is returning to your just now mind. Because if you look at things closely, you'll notice that it's always right now. And so we call that moment world. So these practices are kind of techniques, or what you call expedient means, to return you to your just now mind. That's not attached to anything. It's just fully and completely what we say present right now. Of course, it's always right now. So your only choice is, well, am I going to be aware that it's right now, or am I going to be off in some kind of dream? Maybe I'm in a Jack Kerouac dream. Maybe I'm in a Taoist dream. Maybe I'm in a Korean dream or a Chinese dream. But it's important to wake up just now and come back right now, and then use that to help this world. So there aren't any rules for that. Unfortunately, these practices won't guarantee that. But your job is still the same, to wake up just now. So maybe that's somebody hitting you over the head with a stick. We don't do that much anymore. Or maybe it's opening a can of beans and cooking lunch. But any of those things can bring you back to just now if you start paying attention. So that's this just now mind. And whether the techniques are brought from Taoism or Christianity or Hinduism doesn't really make any difference, because the job is all the same, to return you to your just now mind. Does that make sense? It's a little too simple is the problem. Usually religions will say on some complicated, obscure thing, this is so stupid and so down to earth that it's not actually very popular. So even Zen people try to jazz it up a little bit, to make it sound interesting or something worthwhile doing or whatever. But it's still just now. And that's it. And that just went by. Sorry. Any other questions? Time for one more, maybe. Yeah, talking about practicing, I was talking the other day to somebody, and they were talking about past lives, So a lot of religions have some kind of notion. Christianity doesn't, I think, or maybe it did, some kind of notion about reincarnation, So when I was young, I used to. For a little while, I was doing this past life regression kind of practicing, where you sit and you kind of self-hypnotize yourself. Most of the techniques revolve around self-hypnotism. And then you go back into your previous lives. So I started talking to them from a Buddhist point of view, and I said, yeah, the Buddha went back 500 lives to try to figure out what he was, but he figured out that wasn't the answer, so he gave up on that one, right? So this idea of reincarnation that we borrow from Hinduism, and it is in Buddhism, but we don't emphasize it much in Zen. In fact, I think maybe a Zen Master Sung said, or no, somebody else. Anyway, they said, if you want to understand your previous lives, all you need to do is look at your present life, right? So that's interesting because, as you know, Buddhism uses cause and effect as a kind of a way of talking about what's going on, right? So everything is the result of cause and effect. There's 12-fold step of something, something, something. Everything's always becoming something else, blah, 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 blah. So that's impermanence, of course. So if you want to understand what went on in the past, all you have to do is look at what is going on right now. And of course, what that does is point towards you having this just now mind. So if you want to understand what's going on right now, you have to let go of all of that stuff, right? So I used to be a king in my previous life or something, but so what? What's important is what's going on right now, to wake up to that moment, right? So Ollie and I obviously practiced together in our past lives, right? That's why we're sitting here looking at each other right now. So that's our karma. So your karma is a result of cause and effect. So it's very important not to attach to that. So you just let go. So that's why the Buddha gave up on that one in terms of really finding out what he really was and to help the world. And it's funny because the Hindu god had to come down out of heaven to tell Buddha to get up and start helping people, right? So there you go. No matter what the teaching is, it's wrong. But the teaching does point to something very, very basic, and that is what you truly are. So it's important to find that out. Nobody can explain that to you. You're not going to read it in a book, and some great teacher is not going to tell you either. But they will be pointing, look, and that's the important thing. And that's for you to do, right? Nobody can do it for you. Nobody can force Ollie to bow or me to chant the 10,000 Hands and Eyes Sutra. I have to do that myself. So that's why intention is so important, because we're all beings of intention. And if you want to see the result of your intentions in the past, just look at what's happening right now. And that's the so-called answer to that question. Any other questions?
I have one.
Okay.
I haven't asked a question for quite a while, but
No problem.
I don't know if you remember. I think you came to our former location on New York Street and visited and spoke one time, and I was asking you about this subject about the result of meditation. I was kind of pointedly asking, well, is there anybody that's attained this level of self-awareness or this enlightenment? Although I know that's kind of a charged word, but that was supposed to be, according to all the books I've read, the end of the eightfold path that Buddha described was gain ultimate wisdom, ultimate enlightenment, which seems to be described here as coming to know yourself, your original face, all the different descriptions. Which I guess my question is there anybody in the Zen school, the Quantum school of Buddhism, who's attained enlightenment or come to know their original face through meditation, through practice?
Yeah, I don't know, because all those are provisional words. So enlightenment is just a name for something that's beyond time and space and blah, 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 right? So we have all different kinds of ways of talking about it. In fact, you just used a lot of them. Enlightenment means there's no enlightenment, right? So no matter what it is, if you open your mouth, it's a mistake. So don't attach to any of those kind of teaching words. So to say that somebody like Buddha got enlightenment is encouraging you to do something, to wake up to what you really are. But I already made a mistake because I used the word you. There is no you and there is no me. We would say that, but that's also wrong because that has this and that, and there isn't this and there is that. So if you take away all those opposites thinking, that's why we always use this, Zen Master Sung Sung always said, I only teach don't know, okay? So he's not teaching enlightenment, he's not teaching not enlightenment, he's not teaching ignorance, he's not teaching wisdom, he's teaching don't know. So that's what that points towards is your before thinking mind, right? So your before, what we call your before thinking mind makes all of this stuff, but that's a mistake too. So all of this kind of thinking, yeah, it will just lead you to go into maybe some dream, like Jack Kerouac's dream or my dream or You might even join Ali in her dream. But whatever, the idea is to wake up and then help the world. Okay? So I wouldn't attach to any of those things, but do them. I mean, it's much more interesting to play ping pong. Or yesterday I walked by somebody playing, what's it called? Beer pong or something? So they're playing with a ping pong ball, but it involves drinking beer. So I walked by them, they waved, and I went on. So they're playing a game, okay? And they just do it, right? So actually playing pong outside when it's warm without a mask is enlightenment, in my theory. If you just do it. But if you're checking, or maybe you have some wisdom to think, well, maybe this is not the best thing to do. You know, and then you do that when your native wisdom, your Dono mind, informs you that this is not particularly helpful, maybe, but I don't know. So it's very important not to attach to any of the words, but attain this, what we call before thinking. But of course, clear thinking is also before thinking. So no matter what the words are, I'm making a mistake, right? So that's where that phrase, open your mouth is already a mistake, comes from. Because it's not it, although it is it. Okay? That was pretty clear.
Well, can I ask a follow-up question, or should someone else get a chance?
Please. Quick.
So I guess the question that comes back to me is then, okay, why is practice for 1,000 years, practice,
Right.
diligently. And then we're practicing with the goal in mind of coming to know our original face, our just now mind.
Right.
That gives us the sense of inner peace and the alleviation of worries about all the existential questions like what happens to me when you die, or is all that still there and you just have to continue contending with it, but you maybe have a more intuitive knowledge that you're reaching for that you then attain through this practice. I mean, I guess the question is, why are we practicing?
Right. So you use the word you many times, and we and us and me and you, blah, 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 right? So that's the way we talk. Don't attach to that, though. That's the important thing. And why are we doing that? To help the world. So we're not doing it to make ourselves enlightenment. No myself ever got enlightenment. But letting go of the idea of myself, we call that enlightenment, but that's just the name for something that's before thinking. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
In the end, it's about a direct experience, right? And we say waking up to what's happening. So if Ali wakes up on the kitchen floor, or I wake up in bed this morning, or whatever, so that's the experience of waking up, right? That's a direct experience. You don't. If I say I woke up this morning, you don't doubt that, right? Because I'm sitting here talking to you, and you know what it means because you woke up this morning. I hope it looks like it. So, right? So we try to use language which connects with people's direct experience, because we're talking about a direct experience. So when Buddha sees the star, he has a direct experience of what he truly is. That's what we say, right? But you have to experience that yourself. But then usually we float off again into, was that right or wrong? Well, that really wasn't a star, that was a planet. And what was he doing sitting there anyway? Blah, 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 blah. So that kind of thinking can go on forever, but obviously it doesn't resolve anything, right? So better is, just like you just did. So that's what meditation is based on. If you go, like you sighed, so watch, right at the end of that sigh is a very interesting point, because the reason you sigh is because you have a direct experience of letting go at the end of that sigh. In fact, that's all of meditation, just right? Great technique. So all of these are just techniques for coming back to just now. You're just now mine. And waking up. And that's what you do in the morning. I wake up. So that's not blah, 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 blah. Important is always to just do it so you can have an experience of it for yourself. But there is no self to have the experience. Thank you for listening. Now we have some announcements, I think. So.